There's a moment every parent knows far too well. You ask your child to put on their shoes, and nothing happens. You calmly say it again, still nothing. By the 5th time, your voice gets sharper. By the 10th, you're frustrated, confused, maybe even questioning your parenting. And your child? They suddenly hear you the moment you raise your voice. It feels disrespectful. It feels intentional. But what if I told you something surprising? Your child isn't ignoring you on purpose. They're not trying to push your buttons. They're not broken, and you're not a bad parent. What's really happening is psychological. And once you understand it, everything about listening changes. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why children don't listen, the real reasons backed by brain science and child psychology, and the 7 simple strategies that make kids cooperate calmly, quickly, and without power struggles. These aren't tricks that work sometimes or only on certain children. These are the techniques used by child psychologists, therapists, and parenting experts worldwide because they work with how a child's brain is wired, not against it. Here's the first truth that will change everything. Children don't listen because they don't feel connected in the moment. A child's ability to follow instructions is directly tied to their sense of emotional closeness to you. If your voice is coming from across the room, behind their back, or while their attention is on something else, their brain literally doesn't register the instruction as meaningful. It's not defiance, it's neuroscience. Listening requires connection. Connection requires presence. So before we get into the strategies, I want you to imagine something. Imagine that instead of repeating yourself 10 times a day, your child listens the first time. Imagine your mornings becoming smoother, your evenings calmer, your instructions shorter. No yelling, no threats, no battles, just cooperation that feels natural. That's what happens when you learn how to speak to your child in a way their brain is designed to respond to. And as we move forward, I want to remind you that if you find these insights helpful, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the Parenting Blueprint, and share your experiences in the comments. Your engagement helps this content reach more parents who feel stuck in the same exhausting loop, and together we create calmer homes and stronger families. Now let's begin with the first shift that changes everything. Before a child can listen, their nervous system must feel safe. When a child senses tension, pressure, or stress, their brain switches from cooperation to protection. That's why yelling doesn't work long-term. It forces compliance, but weakens connection. And connection, as you're about to learn, is the foundation for listening, discipline, and emotional development. The first thing we need to understand is that children often don't listen because they are deeply absorbed in whatever they are doing. Their brains are not wired to pause, switch tasks, and respond to external instructions as quickly as an adult's brain can. When your child ignores you while they are playing, drawing, watching something, or even daydreaming, it's not disrespect, it's intense focus. Children have a single-channel attention system, meaning they can only fully process one thing at a time. If their attention is locked onto a toy or idea or feeling, your words simply don't reach the part of their brain that can act on them. This is why yelling sometimes works, not because your child chooses to listen, but because the loudness snaps their nervous system out of the focus state. It interrupts, but it doesn't teach. And what we want is for our children to listen from understanding, not fear. This is where connection comes in. When you move close to your child, get down to their level, touch their shoulder gently, and make brief eye contact, something shifts instantly. Their brain feels your presence. Their nervous system settles. And now, instead of hearing background noise, they hear a meaningful signal. Listening begins with relationship, not repetition. Once a child feels emotionally safe and connected in the moment, your words actually register. Another reason kids don't listen is that parents unintentionally get stuck in what I call the repetition loop. When you repeat the same instructions several times, your child's brain starts treating it like a background sound. The instruction loses importance because nothing changes when they don't act, so they wait. And then they wait again. And over time, they learn that the first few instructions don't matter. Listening becomes delayed by default. Not because they're being stubborn, but because the communication pattern has taught them to delay their response. Breaking this loop isn't about being harsh, it's about being intentional. It starts with making sure you have your child's attention once before speaking, then using clear, calm, single-step instructions that guide them towards success rather than overwhelm. Autonomy plays an even bigger role than most parents realize. Children listen more when they feel they have some sense of control. When a child senses pressure, demands, or commands delivered in a tense tone, their instinct is to protect their independence. This is why toddlers, preschoolers, and even older kids resist instructions that feel too forceful. Their brain interprets it as a threat to autonomy. But when you offer choice within structure, such as asking whether they want to put on the red shoes or the blue ones, cooperation increases dramatically. You're not surrendering authority. You're respecting their developmental need to feel capable. When children feel powerful in small ways, they become more willing to cooperate in bigger ways. Listening improves when parents understand these psychological roots: attention, connection, and autonomy. Once we learn to speak to children in ways their brains can process, everything becomes smoother. In the next page, I'll walk you through emotional triggers, tone of voice, and the surprising communication habits that parents use without realizing they actually block listening. One of the most important pieces of this puzzle is understanding how emotion shapes a child's ability to listen. Adults can feel irritated, stressed, or distracted, and still follow instructions because our prefrontal cortex is fully developed. Children don't have that luxury. Their emotional brain controls most of their reactions, and when they feel overwhelmed, misunderstood, or rushed, listening becomes almost impossible. This is why a simple request can quickly turn into a power struggle. The moment a child feels pressure, their brain shifts from cooperation to defense. They're not choosing to resist. Their nervous system is reacting automatically. Tone of voice plays a bigger role than parents realize. You might be saying something completely reasonable, but if your delivery is sharp, tense, or urgent, your child doesn't hear the instruction. They feel the emotion behind it. And children respond to emotion before words. A calm, steady tone invites cooperation. A frustrated tone triggers resistance. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect or peaceful all the time. It means your tone carries more weight than the content of what you're saying, especially with younger children who rely on nonverbal cues. Another hidden barrier to listening is that many parents give instructions that are too complex for a child's developmental stage. What feels like a simple request to us, put on your shoes, grab your backpack, and meet me at the door, is actually 3 separate tasks that require sequencing, memory, and organization. A child's brain can easily get lost halfway through, and what looks like defiance is often confusion. When instructions are broken down into calm, single steps, the child's brain can process them, succeed at them, and build confidence. And a confident child listens better because they expect themselves to succeed. But one of the most powerful tools I teach parents is emotional labeling. Children listen more when they feel understood. When a child is resisting, crying, or refusing, naming the emotion doesn't reward the behavior. It regulates the brain. Saying something like, "It looks like you really don't want to stop playing," or "You're frustrated because you were not ready to leave yet," helps the child feel seen. And when a child feels seen, the nervous system relaxes, and listening becomes possible again. You're not giving in, you're giving clarity. There's also the issue of timing. Many parents give instructions while their child is mid-emotion, crying, melting down, or deeply frustrated. In these moments, listening is neurologically impossible. The emotional brain must calm first before the thinking brain can activate. When you soothe first and instruct second, cooperation increases dramatically. Your child learns that you are on their side even when enforcing limits. All of these psychological principles work together: tone, timing, emotional safety, clarity, and connection. When you shift how you communicate, you shift how your child responds. And the beauty of this is that you don't need to be a perfect parent to see results. You just need to understand what the child's brain needs to listen well. At this point, it becomes clear that listening is not just about instructions. It's about relationship, timing, emotion, and the way a child experiences power. Power struggles are one of the biggest reasons kids don't listen, and they happen because children are instinctively wired to test boundaries. This isn't misbehavior, it's development. Every child needs to feel a sense of control in their world, and when they don't, they resist the little things because those are the only battles they can actually win. The moment a child feels forced, their brain treats the instruction as a threat to autonomy. And when autonomy feels threatened, behavior becomes louder, bigger, and more chaotic. The key is not to overpower the child, but to guide them. A child who feels respected is far more willing to listen. This is why offering small choices is one of the most effective tools in parenting. It satisfies their need for independence while keeping the adult in the leadership role. When you give two acceptable options, whether it's choosing between two shirts, deciding who goes first in a routine, or picking the order of tasks, you are not giving away control. You're sharing enough to keep cooperation alive. The child feels capable, and capable children listen more readily. But even with choices, children will still push boundaries. Testing is not a sign that they are becoming unruly. It's a sign that they are looking for consistency. They want to know, do you really mean what you say? When they get stuck in cycles of maybe, not yet, or let me see if you actually follow through, listening decreases because the child learns that instructions are flexible. Clear follow-through, calm, consistent, and predictable, helps children feel safe. And when they feel safe, they stop fighting for control and start leaning on your leadership. Another hidden factor behind listening is the environment. A child surrounded by noise, clutter, overstimulation, or fast-paced activity has a harder time processing information. Their nervous system stays activated, making it more difficult to shift attention. When you slow the environment even slightly, a pause before speaking, a gentle touch, a quiet tone, the instruction lands differently. Children respond better in environments where the pace matches their developmental capacity. What many parents don't realize is that cooperation is strongest when the child feels emotionally connected, developmentally supported, and internally valued. When a child senses that you are approaching them as a partner rather than an opponent, listening becomes a natural part of the relationship. You're not fighting for control anymore. You're guiding behavior through understanding. The goal is not to raise a child who listens because they fear consequences, nor one who listens because they feel powerless. The goal is a child who listens because they trust you. Trust creates a bridge between your words and their actions, and every moment of connection strengthens that bridge. Now that we've explored why children don't listen and how their brains respond to connection, tone, autonomy, and emotional safety, it's time to bring everything together into something practical you can use every single day. The most powerful truth I've learned through years of working with families is this: children listen when they feel understood, respected, and connected. They listen when communication is clear, calm, and developmentally appropriate. They listen when the relationship is strong enough to carry the weight of the instruction. Listening is not something we force. It is something we create through the way we show up. The 7 psychology principles behind good listening all point to the same direction. Your child responds best when they feel seen rather than controlled. They cooperate more when the world makes sense to them. They absorb instructions more easily when those instructions come slowly, gently, and with confidence. A child who is overwhelmed doesn't listen because they can't. A child who feels attacked doesn't listen because they're protecting themselves. But a child who feels emotionally safe can shift from their own agenda to yours without a fight. That shift is the foundation of cooperation. Another crucial part of this process is learning to slow down just enough for your child to catch up to your pace. Adults move quickly. Our speech, our routines, our expectations, but children move through the world differently. When you give them an extra moment to transition, or you offer a gentle cue before a request, or you take a deep breath before engaging in a conflict, you're teaching them emotional regulation through your example. Over time, these moments shape their ability to listen without panic or resistance. You're not just improving behavior, you're building the inner skills they will use for a lifetime. And before we go further, let me pause for one moment. If this video has helped you understand your child more deeply, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the Parenting Blueprint, and share in the comments what you're going to try first. Your engagement truly helps this community grow and brings these tools to more families who need them. What makes these 7 psychology tricks so transformative is not that they are complicated, but that they align with how a child's brain naturally develops. You're not fighting biology, you're partnering with it. When you connect before you correct, when you offer choices instead of demands, when you break tasks down into simple steps, when you speak slowly and with warmth, when you label emotions, when you keep routines predictable, and when you follow through calmly, your child begins to trust the process. Listening becomes a pattern rather than a battle. The biggest shift happens inside the parent. When you stop interpreting resistance as disrespect and start seeing it as communication, everything becomes clearer. Your child isn't fighting you. They're inviting you to understand them better. The skills you build now will not only make your home calmer, they will help your child grow into a more thoughtful, regulated, cooperative adult. And that is the real heart of discipline, teaching, guiding, and modeling the very skills we hope our children will one day carry within themselves.